When life throws you a curveball, how are you going to handle adversity? Welcome to the Fearless Mindset Podcast, where you're about to go on a journey as I interview security, business, and entertainment leaders on what it takes to stay fearless. I'm your host, Mark Ledlow, and enjoy today's episode. Well, hello, everybody. It's been a minute. This is Mark Ledlow, the host of your Fearless Mindset Podcast. Thanks for tuning in and checking out what we have to talk about today. I just got back in. I've been off the podcast role for a while, as you guys can imagine. Even though their queue is full, I think we got 30 guests in the queue right now, going in all the way to summer. And so thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. And make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit that bell. That helps with our algorithms. And make sure you give us some remarks on the podcast platforms. That helps with the algorithm as well. So this is a non-sponsored show, sponsored by the Ledlow Security Group, Fearless Mindset Podcast. And self-funded, no sponsorships as of yet. We did that deliberately so we can have freedom of speech. Marine Corps vet, hey, freedom of speech. Love our Constitution, love our country. And we have also another fellow patriot, Gary Rabine, comes from us from Florida to join us. And Gary, thanks for scratching your schedule to join the audience today.
Thanks, Mark. I'm actually in Illinois, in Bull Valley, Illinois today, back where I'm from originally, in northern Illinois. Back here just for a few months. But my businesses are mostly in the state of Illinois still. There's some have moved out and some are being started in other places in the country. But for now, I'm still here. I'm going to be moving out of this residence, even on a part-time basis, 4 or 5 months a year. It's not going to be in Illinois. But
nice.
That's kind of a little bit of my
more
story.
Sun, right? Get more sun.
Yeah, forget about the stun. You get more freedom, and I think that's important, right? I mean, I believe that we unfortunately fight as hard as you can for this American dream that we're being blessed to have. But when you can't win the fight because it's so corrupt in states like California and Illinois, I think you have to go where you're treated better, where you can have your voice can be stronger. Not that you stop fighting, because I think you always have to fight, because even places like Illinois and California and New Jersey, places like this, have to have patriots fighting for them, or they will be communist states in the future. My opinion, right?
Understood. You have that you're free to have that opinion. Marine Corps veteran, I believe in freedom of speech. Totally. But the audience really doesn't know you. So as the audience can figure out, you're not in the bodyguard role, you're not executive protection, you're not on a high net worth family protecting their lives. Gary has a unique background. He comes from the business world. And Gary, you claim the title, I'm a redhead hillbilly from the hillbilly states. And I love that humility.
Yeah, I have a podcast also, Mark. It's called Ditch Digger CEO, because I was laughed at when I wasn't going to college. My friends who were athletes along with me were mostly all going to college, and when I told them I was going to start a business in landscaping or paving, they laughed. And the movie Caddyshack came out the year before, so the popular thing was world needs ditch diggers, right? And so actually, one of my friends, in a smart aleck way, said, "Rabine, you know what? You're going to be a ditch digger. The world needs ditch diggers, Rabine." And I kind of said, "Yeah, you're kind of right. I guess that's what I'm going to be." And that's what I love doing, because I through high school I worked in construction as a young guy. So either way, yeah. So hillbilly. I say that because I grew up in an area where really, if you knew where I lived and grew up, you'd say, "Boy, this is kind of a hillbilly neighborhood," and bunch of people with Southern accents talking like Southern accents in Northern Illinois, and people that came from rough backgrounds, and so. For me to be where I'm at in life, I'm a blessed person, and there's no way this happens unless you're in a great country like America, and a great faith that holds their faith close to their heart like I do. So,
and here's a question: being a businessman that you are, in the business transactions that you do, how important is the business person you're doing business with? Do you gauge that trust factor based on core values, being one of them faith? Do you get a different experience from a person non-faith versus a person with a faith? Is there different experiences from your history of you've been self-employed as a multi-millionaire in business? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so our business is built on core values that we believe in, and those core values really kind of align with who we are. And we're a family that has strong faith. But I mean, we do business with people that don't have any real faith in their lives, so that are amazing people. I think faith is just something that if you have it, it keeps you. It keeps me anyway in a path, a roadmap that keeps me driving towards my goals much easier than if I didn't have that faith. And maybe that's just me, but I do find that some of my most trusted friends have some type of faith in their life, and it doesn't have to be my Catholic faith. It could be, I have a lot of friends that are strong Jewish faith, Muslim faith. I've got a couple of friends that are Muslims that are really good people. I've got a bunch of friends that are Hindus because I was in India for a long period of time and got to meet a lot of people I became friends with in India. So again, I think it's having a moral compass is important in our lives. However that happens. I believe that selfishly that the Christian faith is a way that keeps us on pace better than most, but that's just me, right?
Sure. Wow. Interesting how the character and the integrity is all correlated and interwoven into that. Now, the audience probably is wondering, okay, how did you have no college background, no business degree, you didn't go to business school, but you started a paving company and then you expanded it to now you're the Rabine Group. You're all over the country. And what was the secret sauce? Just hard work or 80 hours a week or just reputation, brand management?
Yeah. So a lot of good things happen over 43 years. That's has been since we started. But I've been blessed with great relationships of people that mentored me or gave me some type of vision of what I could be. I had a grandfather that was a commander in the Navy. He was a Navy Seabee. And so he told me about all the roads they built and bridges they built using materials from the area they landed in, right? Whether it's Vietnam or Korea, North Korea, wherever it was that he worked as a Seabee, sometimes under fire even, right? But either way, told me about how they used the natural elements of that real estate, right? The soils that were not necessarily good soils, or the timber that were soft timbers that they somehow used to build things, right? Airport, runways and roads and bridges, right? So he inspired me. Number one, he also was a huge patriot, of course, and he talked about wars before and history before. So I loved listening to my grandpa talk about it, and he gave me a vision of, gosh, you know what? If I don't make it, and that was my thing. If I didn't make it in the paving business, I was really focused on going to the Navy, and I wanted to be I read about Navy SEALs, and I was a wrestler, a football player, and I like to work out and compete and challenge myself. And so I really was focused. I said, if this business doesn't work out, I want to be a Navy SEAL. Well, my younger brother, a couple of years later, did join the Navy, and he thought he'd be a Navy SEAL. He went through some of the training and ended up as an underwater demolition diver instead of a SEAL. But he kind of went after that, and that was pretty neat. He still dives a lot today and stuff. I had a sister, brother-in-law, Navy also. So I've had a lot of people around me that have represented our country and given their time and talent to our country. And those that gave at the highest level, gave their lives or limbs. And I've got some relatives that have been have given limbs and their life to this country. I look upon those as people that we owe it to our next generation to protect this freedom. And as business leaders, if we understand where this comes from, we thank God every day that we have these veterans and we have these people today still that represent us and fight for this freedom that we enjoy. Yeah, so I think we as business leaders need to understand that we have this obligation to understand where these blessings come from, right? It's our blessings that this country's been built in this belief that God has a lot to do with it in this country where we've actually discovered what freedom really is like and what the American dream is and can be. I feel like if we understand that all those things matter in business, and we're doing things to protect that by fighting back when bad regulations upon us, or when a president of our country is telling us we must vaccinate every employee we have. When you hear these things, it's wrong. And as a freedom-loving American, you need to fight for it. And if you have the blessings of this American dream and you have a few extra bucks, invest in these causes to fight against bad regulation and bad leadership, corrupt leadership in our government. So in business, for me, it's been a matter of building my business, and in the first 20 years, not caring or not understanding how politics even comes into play. Just building my business to make a profit, and building a business to create revenues and customers, right? Build customers. And that worked out pretty well until I ran into issues with bad regulations and corrupt government. And eventually, the last 20 years I've spent, as I built my businesses, getting involved in politics. And that's paid off, because we've started some organizations that fight back very strong, and have won many battles to change the direction of our country, actually. So it's been kind of fun.
Did you find, Gary, that as you became more successful in your asphalt business, that you would have a lot of people, a lot of heat coming against you to shut you down? Did you find that as you got bigger and bigger, to fight regulation, you had to get almost lobbying?
Yeah, so I never want to participate in lobbying, actually. But so for me, in the business itself, competition comes and goes, and whether it's local, regional, or national. We were one of the first companies, the second company actually, to build a national business in commercial paving. Today, there's maybe 10 people that are striving to follow us, and there's a couple of us been doing it for about 20 years now. But in normal competition, as long as you strive to serve your customer well, and you strive to differentiate stronger than anybody in the industry, I believe that you'll stay on top of your market, and you'll continue to grow, and your customers will love you, right? And that's our goal. But when you look at the regulatory environment, if you're just focused on business, people that don't understand anything about business will make the laws, and they'll build regulations based on the big corporate America that can finance lobbyists, or big unions who can finance lobbyists, right? While the quiet small business person busts their butt every day, they get regulation thrown on their back that's good for the unions, and it might be good for big corporate America, but it doesn't always work out for small business. And so in the last 20 years, I've been paying attention to that more than ever, because I've gotten myself out of the field in my business, and working on my business every day, not in it. And I think it's important that everybody that in business that can do that should pay attention and work hard to do that. Otherwise, we will lose this free enterprise system with regulation that looks like a communist country instead of a free country.
Where do you feel business owners fail at in their own businesses? Are they too far on in the field, or are they not where they need to be as far as leadership?
So when I look at business, and I have many friends of mine that don't grow their business at all. And other friends of mine are very aggressively always looking to grow their businesses. And some of my friends that don't grow their businesses, they really don't love their teammates. They don't love their employees. They really don't love their customers. Business is kind of like a job, and they're looking forward to retirement 20, 30 years out when they're 20, 30 years old. So I saw that as a young business person, and I still see that today. I've looked at businesses, man, I love these people that work around me, because without them, I can't survive. I can't be who I am. I love these customers, because if I can't solve their problems every day and befriend them, right, they're not going to be there for me either. But boy, you know what? When you really love your teammates and you love your customers, most of them will love you back, and most of them will stick with you, whether they're invaluable teammates or they're invaluable customers, right? We've got some of the best customers in the world at the Rabine Group today. We've got some of the best teammates that constantly lead without us watching, right? So again, I think the biggest failure is when business leaders are afraid to say how much they care and how much, and maybe they don't, so they shouldn't even say if they don't care. But any successful business person I know that really has immense success and leads their industry, like we have. We care, and we make sure our teammates know every day how much we care, because they're wearing our name on their shirts, on their hats, on their safety gear, their trucks they drive, and the equipment they drive. They're in front of our name more than in front of their families. So, boy, if we don't care about them and let them know we care about them, but we're doing them a disjustice and our business. So our business continue to grow, and even though we have a few family members and about 750 people in our businesses, I was on the phone with a few calls today. and the word family environment and this family business came up, and we're part of a family, and these weren't family members, right? But they're family members when it comes to our business and what they do to serve our customers. So I guess it's kind of that, right? Do you really love your teammates? Do you really love your customers? Because if so, you'll be serving them. And one thing you think about is when leaders think they're at the top of a pyramid, they're that CEO, the chairman, right? They're the board, they're at the top of the pyramid, and they really believe that all these people below them are below them, serving them. I think you have a problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
When the pyramid is upside down, and you really believe as a CEO, the chairman, and the board, you're down at the bottom, that's serving this huge pyramid above you, or this inverted pyramid, right? That's what leadership's about. When you wake up every day knowing you have to serve all those people,
right,
and then you have to serve this whole group of customers, beyond them, I think that's leadership. When you really believe that business is about a pyramid and you're at the top of it and they're serving you, boy, you don't, in my opinion, you're not the best leader you can be. And again, serving those people above you isn't that difficult if you really if you inspire those inspire those people that are on your team, right? To do the same thing you're doing, to serve those people above them, and serve those customers, solving their problems every day. If you do that well, guess what? I get very few phone calls. I only get phone calls when it's a big reason to celebrate, or big reasons that we have something they need me to help solve a problem on. And that's a beautiful thing, because I didn't get that for the first 20 years. I didn't understand that.
You had to grow into that mindset.
But guess what? If a young person is mentored by somebody with that wisdom, boy, if they embrace it, they can start right off the bat with all that. And unfortunately, I didn't understand that, or have anybody tell me that, right?
So mentorship and coaching is so critical in the trajectory of your growth.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And there's different stages of mentorship, right? My dad was an amazing mentor to teach me work ethic, to teach me how to outwork anybody around me. There's nobody better than my dad. My dad was not a good mentor when it came to loving your teammates and loving customers. He was frustrated at the challenges you have managing employees and customers, right? So my dad was not one that could grow and scale a business to be very large, because he had to be on top of everything, because he didn't trust as much as he should have, and therefore people didn't trust him as much as they could have, right?
Right.
But then you meet other mentors at different stages in your life. Today, my mentors are people that I've been blessed to get to know. Bernie Marcus, the founder of Home Depot, right? Amazing person that gives back to society. A billionaire that was broke at 50 years old, right? Interesting. And a great guy, great patriot, who's a good friend of mine today. And what an amazing mentor he's been, to understand his story, to be able to call him on questions, and also grow Job Creators Network with him as a founding board member that I am. The beautiful thing, again, so I'm blessed to have so many mentors in my life to help me in different stages of my life, whether it's personal or it's business. So, but as you said, mentorship is so important for all of us to embrace it, because if you embrace it, you gather the wisdom of somebody else instead of going through the trials and tribulation yourself, right?
Yeah, I had a mentor of mine basically told me one time, show me your mentor, your coach, and I'll show you your future.
Yep, I agree with that. And I agree with show me your top five friends that you spend the most time with, and I'll tell you your character and where you're going to go.
Power of association, John Maxwell.
Yeah,
crazy.
Exactly. Yeah.
But when you get in that sphere of that association, Gary, they always say iron sharpens iron. Do you feel that happens to you, where you want to raise your level of your game? Or is it a mental challenge that you crave? Because after a while, you kind of outgrow, wanting to be on the field. So you have to have a new mental challenge in business to keep you that fire in the belly. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I think we have to always strive to challenge our mind. And if you're competitive and you love leadership, what can you do next to challenge yourself, right? And, when my wife battled brain cancer for 4 years, 4 years and 4 months. And I spent a lot of time with her as it was, some of the best time of my life, spending time with her, so focused on her. But over the course of that time, my business was being run by my son, my daughter, and many leaders that I didn't think could take over these jobs, and I didn't think they could do as good as me, right? I mean, but guess what? They did a better job than me. Wow. And so by the time my wife passed away, and this is almost 4 years ago. And I didn't know, I kind of didn't know what I was going to do, right? I could go back and take over the CEO role again. I could just work on a couple of new businesses we were starting at that time again, and I could do a lot of things. But I believe my state of Illinois was in a world of hurt with really bad, corrupt leaders. And so I said, it's a Democratic state, but I'm running for governor, and I'm going to run on a message that lower taxes, increase the opportunity of small business in our state, bring people back to our state, and clean up a lot of things that are so messed up in the state of Illinois. But so I said, I'm going to do that instead of going back to business, because they were doing a great job in my business, and I knew that if Illinois didn't change, I was moving out. So at least I said, I'm going to give my last ditch effort, run for governor. And I did that. And it challenged me, because for 2 years, I had to think totally different than I ever thought in my life. I had to speak a lot in front of many different groups of people on a daily basis. I traveled to 110 counties in our state. I did everything you do as a governor's candidate. And it was really a lot of, it was challenging as heck. I had fun with it, but it was a lot of work. My mind had to really shift to a different mode than just business, and inspiring leadership in business. But so either way, it was a great exercise. I lost the race. It was maybe the best thing that happened is I didn't win.
Really?
And I instead of running for governor, I was running for Florida. I moved to Florida full time right after that. And I've been there ever since for 7 months, 6.5, 7 months a year. And my opportunities and relationships are growing there, as I knew they would. Illinois is still a place I love, but I can't be okay with where these politicians and crooked people in government have taken the state. So anyway, but it challenged me. So now I'm back in the business world. I'm helping on many fronts politically, national organizations that I'm part of, on the board of. But you know what? I'm having fun again as a person that's the visionary for our businesses. So as my leaders are leading and growing everything really nicely, I'm focused on where do we go next? What's next? Where are we at in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? And we're really on course in a great way. Some of it due to my vision, much of it due to my teammates, our leaders in our team's execution. But either way, that's a whole different world, right? I'm 61 years old. Most people say, Gary Rabine, you could retire, man. You got all the money you need. Retire. What are you doing, right? Well, retirement to me is death. I mean,
death.
I'm not. It's the end to me, right? To retire means to retire, to go to sleep for good. And I believe for me, the most fun I have is inspiring people to go beyond what they would normally in business and if it's organizations fighting for our country and fighting for the American dream too. I want to help there. But I believe that if you've got all this wisdom, how do we use it? If you retire at 50, 60 years old, all that wisdom kind of fades away.
Right.
If you can inspire people to continue to lead with your wisdom, all right, you lead a lot smarter. You have more success. Today, we still start a business every year, maybe even every 8 months, start a new business. And we have 15 companies right now.
15 companies?
And we've got 15 different companies right now in the Rabine Group.
Wow.
And we're looking at, 2 or 3 in the hopper that we want to start in the next, year to 2 years. But the thing is, when we challenge our minds, in my opinion, and you use the wisdom you have to challenge others to lead better, to serve better, good things happen. And our customers, I think, our customers and our teammates are the beneficiary of this wisdom. And so when I see a Bernie Marcus at 94 years old, still thinking 20 years ahead of time, and a guy my age and people younger than me want to hang out with this guy because he's so cool, I want to be that guy at 90. If I can live to be 94, I want to be that guy. Right. And I've known him for 12 years now. And at 82 years old, he was the same, right? He was thinking 20, 30 years ahead. I'm thinking, man, I want to do whatever I can to hang around with this guy and be part of his vision. And so again, there's another gentleman I've got to be friends with lately, Fred Smith, the founder of FedEx.
Oh, brilliant, this guy is brilliant.
79 years old. He's built one of the best companies in the world. And he's still thinking way ahead. And I've got some opportunity to not just we do business with him, but opportunity to maybe partnership with him in some business. And he's such an amazing mind. And it's so much fun for a young kid like me at 61 to hang around the 79-year-old guy.
There you go.
that's done so much more in his life than anybody I know, and he still works his butt off every day. And his grasp of history and he's also a vet like you. I appreciate him. He's a great vet also. So either way, I mean, I think life is awesome when you can constantly challenge yourself. And by the way, I think when you challenge your mind to continue to grow, I think your mind's gonna be healthier too, just like any other muscle. So I still read a lot and do whatever I can to get as acclimated as I can to anything I want to lead.
What kind of reading do you do, Gary? Because I know my dad always told me readers are leaders. And after I got out of college, I'm like, I do not want to read another book again. And I'm like, but all the businessmen out there, they're always reading. They're just devouring books. And what inspires you?
I read, but I wouldn't say I devour books. I read a book every month. I'll read a new book. But for me, I actually like people a lot. So when I want answers, I find the people that have the answers, and I listen to them tell me, their stories and how they did it, right? We're really invested heavily in AI and technology. So we're in these I say dirty because they're just asphalt, concrete, dirty businesses, and these dirty businesses really do well when you invest in technology to surround them with. And so we've had great success by using 3D technology before anybody else, paving concrete parking lots and asphalt.
Okay.
So we basically 3D print concrete parking lots, and we do it at a pace 5 to 15 times faster than our competitors.
Wow.
So we use technology, expensive technology, but we've also helped develop it too. And then we use artificial intelligence and machine learning in our business that assesses the condition of properties all over the world. So Walmart is a great customer of ours. Prologis, some of the biggest real estate holding companies in the world are our customers in a company we started only 6 years ago. And the goal was just to solve the customer's problem of assessing their properties faster and then figuring out how they can maintain and fix problems on their large properties super fast. And that was basically by using data capturing equipment like drones and fixed wing planes and things like that. And then using artificial intelligence to load engineering in so we can basically assess these things with the eyes of a great engineer, really just a drone using a script, right? So again, that business is growing super fast and it's a lot of fun. So I'm learning more and more about machine learning than I ever imagined. And I've always continually learned about leadership in different industries. So we have all different businesses serving the facilities industry, but paving's our biggest, concrete and asphalt paving. But we do doors and docks, and we do mechanicals, and we have a mechanical company, and we have we have all these different businesses, a roofing maintenance and re-roofing company. So these companies, we start them or buy them, I dive in to learn everything I can about them to be, as much of an expert as I can, without getting in the way of my real experts. Right.
Smart.
So that's kind of I have fun doing that. But the books I read often are great books of just simple books on differentiation. There's a great book called Blue Ocean Strategy, who I throw to people all the time. It's a thin book, easy to read. Just talks about discovering your difference, right? And if you don't differentiate from anybody, you're kind of a commodity, right?
Right.
And if you're a commodity, only people want you. The only way people want you is if you're the cheapest. Well, cheapest is a race to the bottom. And if you don't differentiate and you're a commodity, don't expect to be in business very long. If you differentiate by solving your customers' problems, you'll be in business for a long time. And so Blue Ocean Strategy is a simple book about that. There's another great book that I always recommend to people. It's called The Laws of Success by Napoleon Hill.
Yep.
If you can, gain the wisdom of some of the people that really built America, how cool is that? So reading that one book, right? Reading that one book will give you, I think it's 30 stories from the Carnegies to the Firestones to Ford to all these people that changed America, that really built America. All these people really started with basically nothing, right? And so in my podcast, Ditch Digger CEO, I strive to do exactly that. I want to mentor people by getting people that are top 1% in their industries to tell their stories. And these people started with nothing, right? So we're telling stories of people that started right where many of our listeners are listening. And gosh, you know what? I don't have $1 million in the bank. I don't have $100 million in the bank, but this person I'm listening to has $1 billion in the bank, and they started with nothing. How do I do that? So that's kind of what we do. We let these people tell their story as you do, And I think that's a form of mentorship that if you embrace these stories, you can make it your own.
Yeah, who would have guessed podcasting would become the art of storytelling? And, the millennial generation are the biggest consumers. And I had no idea. My podcast producer told me that the podcast venue or channel or platform is outpacing the network cable news as far as consumption rate. I'm like, this is insane. Who would have guessed?
Wow. But that's great, because I think most of us, the podcasts really focus on your freedom of speech, right?
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's hopefully telling you, what positions you should have or I should have, right? You're getting, real information without all the garbage.
The filter.
So especially when you like you're not taking sponsors. I'm not taking sponsors. I'm not making any money doing it. I'm doing it because I want to do it. And not to say there's some really good content out there where they make a ton of money. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Free market works, but I think anybody can sift through who's real and who's not, right? Who's bought and who's not.
So
Pretty
true.
simple thing.